I can tell you that there's a difference between content that people want and content that people need. I told you I've written several novels, and they didn't sell that well, because at the time that I wrote them, the whole bookstore paradigm was shifting a little bit. But the how-to books, I was writing lots of poker books and comedy writing books. The how-to books also always sold quite strong. And so it occurred to me, people don't have to pay for content they just want. There's plenty of free content out there. But people will pay for content they need because they want to be comic writers themselves, or they want to be stand-up comics or whatever. That's content that they'll pay for. So it may be that people are drawn to consuming content that is of direct benefit to them. Oh, that's completely incorrect. The world is full of people who just consume content for entertainment. But your audience, I can imagine, and my constituency for sure, these are people who want to evolve. They want to find and serve their own creative mission. So it's natural that they'll be drawn to topics that have something of concrete benefit to them, something they can use now.
Yeah, that makes sense. And apply, hopefully, to also making money, which is segues into our topic here. And that is, how have you handled the relationship between money and art throughout your life?
In many, many different ways. It's an evolving thing. The slogan we have in this house is never leave money lying on the table, which is just a way of saying if there's an opportunity to earn money honorably, don't turn up your nose at it. Don't reject it. Don't ever think you can't do it. Lean into it. I've done this over and over again. I've gotten writing jobs all through my life based on the proposition, do you think you can do this? Sure, I can do it. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, I've never done it before, but I'm sure going to try because I'll never leave money lying on the table. In the early phase of my career, my idea was any job that involves turning words into money is worth doing. I wrote back cover copy for 500 VHS tapes of old movies that were being re-released on VHS tape. That's how long ago that was. And I learned something about how to summarize a plot, because I'd watch the movie and then I'd have to write the blurb for it. I wrote and sold anagrams. I made up slang. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, I sold a thing to the LA Times, slang you hear at the dog park. And he said, how much of it did you make up? I said, 100%. Because I don't know what slang they do at the dog park, but I can make up words like reefing. Well, what's reefing? When a little dog goes under the picnic table to get away from the big dog, that's like a fish going into a coral reef. It's reefing. So the willingness to work for money is not often like this job is beneath me. It's more often blocked by, I'm afraid I can't do this job, therefore I won't take it or I won't even go for it. I had the habit and still have the habit, if something comes along and it looks like it might be fun and interesting, I'll throw my hat in the ring. And I kind of have the expectation, I'm probably going to get it. I don't think people have that expectation. And I've been wrong a bunch of times, but Jesus, I just put in for a grant to join an AI art collective. Because why not? That might be fun. I think I could do it. I have some digital art capability.
Right, and that's your creation.
This is my own creation, yeah. So I have my hands in digital art, and like everybody else, I have some acquaintance with AI. I'm veering from the topic, but I promise I will come back.
That's okay, and I have a question about your shirt.
Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So if there's money to be made, it's not a matter of this job is beneath me, it's a matter of am I too scared to do this job? And just generally, I tell people, get them to hire you and you'll figure out a way to do the job. You will not fail. A friend of mine told me this 1,000 years ago. I was thinking about buying my first car, but I didn't think I could afford it. He said, buy the car. Then you have to figure out how to afford it. If you don't buy the car, you're never going to be able to afford it. And the same thing is true with chasing gigs. Chase the gig, get the gig, then figure out how to execute on the gig. In the world we're living in now, some opportunities are evolving, some opportunities are going away. To give you one example, when I was coming up, I could sell slang to the LA Times, dog park slang to the LA Times. But what I couldn't do was make my own sitcom with my iPhone and try to monetize it online. So It's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just an evolving thing. And that's the way that I like to think about it. With that said, I told you that when I was doing situation comedy, I had some challenges in that area. And one of the challenges was I often felt like I was writing for shows that I didn't really have anything to say about. It didn't seem to connect to my experience. And I was speaking to an audience that was not me. And I thought about it and I realized no matter what the topic is, no matter what the story is, there has to be some point of overlap between what is important to me and what is important to the audience. And all I have to do is find that point of overlap. So even if you think you have the dumbest job in the world, you can look for the part of the job that is fulfilling to you as a creator and focus on that. You never need to assume that there's nothing in it for you in the job except the paycheck. Also, every single writing job, every single art job, every single creative job of any kind is an opportunity to practice your craft and learn more about how you do the things you do. So, to take another example, I did coverage of screenplays early on. I'd read the screenplay and write it up. It was not particularly challenging work, but it taught me a lot about specifically what bad screenplays look like, because I read them aplenty. And I realized they're just like sleeping pills, only not habit-forming.
Okay. Well, it's interesting when we hear about performers in any realm that their most popular work they actually don't like. And where they almost feel like that wasn't their true voice.
I can see that. I don't own that in my personal experience. I'm always grateful for an audience, and I strive to be humble in service of the work. I know that I do things that people respond to in ways I can't anticipate. And if they find something in it, maybe even something I can't control, maybe even something I've decided I've disowned or don't really care about anymore, I'm still happy they found their way to it. For the part of me that is unsatisfied with my level of fame, any little bit that I can get, any little bit of audience reaction that I can get, I'm satisfied, I'm grateful for it. So I don't hold any of my work at arm's length. Sometimes I go back and I look at it and I say, well, I don't know what I was thinking here. But mostly that's when I'm looking at stuff that I'm thinking, is there a possibility that I could resurface this and reuse it? I came across an old manuscript of something or another, and my first thought was, wow, this is really great. I could repackage this and sell it now. And I started reading it, and then I said, this isn't very good. There's a reason why I set it aside. It wasn't worth sharing with my audience. You were going to ask something about the shirt?
Oh, yes. And I don't know if the audience can see as clearly as I can, but it looks like it's an art gallery. Mm-hmm. And this is, you did this shirt?
I did the shirt.
Wow, okay. And is this a replica of an art gallery that you frequented, or?
No.
In your mind?
The line I use is, all my art, all my work is digitex, because digitex is, let me try this again. I call this type of art digitex. It's a word I made up. Not surprising, I've made up thousands of words. What is digitex? Digitex is my art. All my work is digitex because digitex is all I do. What digitex is, wow, that's a hard word. I need a simpler one. It's a combination of hand drawing, digital art, photographs, and found objects. So what you're looking at here, these colored squares go all the way back to MS Paint, which was on your Windows 3.1.
Right.
The framework is, this was captured from somewhere on the internet. The lamps are hand-drawn and then photographed and sublimated into the work. And then the stuff down here is a lot of digital manipulation, taking out stuff, erasing top layers to reveal bottom layers, this kind of thing. The whole concept is, in my imagination, there is a place in the physical world. And what I want to do is go in there and insert my art. Like a cuckoo inserts their egg into another bird's nest.
Okay.
I like to hijack spaces. So I probably started out by saying, oh, I like these frames. How can I take out what's in there and put in what's mine? So so we can call it a hijack.
And when you wear that out to wherever you go, I don't know, a jazz concert, a grocery store? Do people stop you?
Today, I went to physical therapy, and my physical therapist said, "Oh, that's a cool shirt." I said, "Well, thank you. It's my design." And she asked what it was, and I explained the whole thing that I explained to you just now. It's very satisfying. I don't sell this stuff too much. Without going into too much detail, there's not a lot of margin in selling physical goods. So that's not really where I want to put my time. I'd prefer to sell my intellectual property. Although if anybody wants to buy it, just go to my website. We can make some kind of deal. What was your question? Oh, yeah, so I do wear it out, and I get a big kick out of it.
Okay, so your creative mission in making it is not to sell it.
And inside this is a very instructive lesson. From the time I was a young adult until 10 years ago, I defined myself as a writer. All I knew about my creative space was I am a writer, a very hard and fast definition. And corollary to that was, and I'm sure as heck not an artist. I wouldn't imagine to be an artist. I've never done art. I don't know the first thing about art. I'm definitely not an artist. I'm a writer. Now, the interesting thing is the relationship that a writer has with their work is the work is a means of communicating to the audience. So when I write, the words are a means to an end. I'm trying to communicate an idea, sell a joke, and write an entertaining story, whatnot, for the sake of satisfying an audience. So I am thinking about, as a writer, I'm thinking about the relationship between myself and my audience. In 2016, I had the first of 2 rotator cuff surgeries. I'm rehabbing from the second of them right now. And I was laid up for a while and I couldn't write, but I could drive a mouse wrong-handed. And I thought to myself, well, just for the sake of keeping my creative wheels in motion, I'm going to try art. And because I'm a writer, I said, I know, I'll write a book about it. And I wrote a book called White Belt in Art, because my thinking was, if I go for a white belt in art, the white belt's the one they give you for just showing up. I thought, well, I can just show up. But I quickly realized that the relationship I had with my art was completely different from the relationship I had with my writing. It was me and the art and nothing more. And when the art was done, it's like solving a crossword puzzle. That was great, that was fun. Set it aside, move on to the next. Very, very soul-fulfilling creative practice, but also completely transformational, because it made me aware that my definition, well, 2 definitions. One, the definition of who I'm doing it for is suspect. It's not always just for the audience. It can also be for myself. And the other, more profoundly, I wouldn't define myself as an artist because I was afraid. I said, I've got no cred in this area. I have no track record. I'm likely going to fail for a long, long time. I'm scared. I lowered the stakes. I said, well, just go for the white belt. That's the one they give you for just showing up. And over time, with the passage of time, as you can see, I've gotten somewhere with it. Now, my definition of my creative self is no longer writer. It's writer and artist. So I've doubled the size of the world that I can inhabit. How did I get there? By circumstance and by embracing circumstance. The circumstance was, I need creative practice and I can't write. Embracing circumstance was, I'm afraid to do it, but I'm going to do it anyhow. And if we could just boil it all down to like the size of a bumper sticker, you're afraid to do it, but just do it anyhow.
Well, I'm wondering, what was scarier, performing comedy before an audience or calling yourself an artist?
Each was scary in different ways. I think I felt comfortable getting up on stage because I had command of my material. I know what funny looks like. I didn't have to worry about whether my jokes would land. No, I did have to worry about whether they would land, but I didn't have to worry about whether they were funny. So all of the fear about getting up on stage was just the all eyes are on you, you're naked in the spotlight. How does that feeling wash over you? So it was very intense and very in the moment. The art was more of an unfolding thing. It's like, how can I know what's good when I don't have any experience in this area? And I actually devised a strategy for that. I thought to myself, it seems to me that an artist has 3 things: voice, hand, and eye. Voice is what you want to say. hey, look at me, I took over this environment, and you can too. Hand is your ability to execute on it. And I is your ability to evaluate what you've done and judge whether it's any good or not. So when I started out in art, I thought, I got voice. I know what voice is from writing. In fact, I got a lot of voice, don't really have anything else. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say my voice starts out at a 6 or a 7. I had no hand at all. I'd never done anything before. So I'm setting my hand at 0. Nowhere to go but up. I was a little trickier because how do you know whether what you've done is satisfying to you if you have no benchmark? I borrowed all my experience as a writer, where I learned if you want to trust your yes, you have to be good with your no. By that I mean, you write something and as a writer you want it to be great and you don't want to have to change it and you want people to love it and you want it to be perfect the way it is. So when you review it and you try to evaluate and judge it yourself, you often filter through hope. I hope it's okay. But if you're what's the word I'm looking for? If you're a practitioner, serious-minded practitioner, you want to make it as good as it can be. So you have to get good at saying it's not as good as it can be yet. You have to practice your no. But if you practice your no, if you go through a script, for example, and say, nope, not good enough, got to write it again. Nope, still not good enough, got to write it again. Finally, you reach a point where you say, I've said no all this time and I can't see a reason to say no anymore. Now I trust my yes. So I thought over time, if I did enough art and got used to saying, no, that's not what I'm looking for, I can do better than that I would reach a point where I could start to trust my yes. I developed my I. And over time, I could see my voice, my hand, and my I growing. But as I say this, I'm laughing at myself because I don't think there's an artist in the world who thinks about art in this particularly analytical fashion like I do. They make art. I don't make art, I strategize art. And that's because I'm a strategic thinker. I think about my process all the time. I'm completely self-obsessed, and I say that in a good way. The benefit of being self-obsessed is I figure out how I'm doing what I'm doing, and then I turn that stuff into strategies and tools that other people can use. I consider that my gift. We might even say that that's my art. It's the thing that ties everything else together. I can write a script, I can write a joke, I can make a piece of art, and other people can do that too. But my special sauce is I can watch myself working, make my discoveries, and synthesize them into instructions for other people. And I don't think a lot of people have that gift.
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.